forgotten his own promise or eaten up his words. So either the Holy Quran is right or the present day Muslims are right. They stand in exactly dramatically opposed positions. So if this verse is to be believed, the only inference that can be drawn is that the Muslims are not righteous, or Allah would never have forgotten His promise and permitted people other than the Muslims to occupy the land. Yes, please. When did you arrive from Glasgow?
This afternoon.
From
Glasgow. Hazur, my question is very fundamental because one of the Scottish family is Alhamdulillah under Tabligh, and they said they are well-to-do family, and they said that we have a concept. They are
only about fortnight ago you went there and settled. And during that short period you have already
established the
acquaintance and established a pleasing relationship.
Yes, Alhamdulillah. So the family says that we have a concept of happiness as to, because there is well-to-do family,
right,
and we got the material things, and they are church-going people, and they said that when we go to church or we do not go to church, the concept of happiness in our life does not change. So it means going to church doesn't make any difference to us. Then they asked me this question, that if we start listening to you or to Islam as a whole, how this concept is going to be changed? Because according to them, the religious is not going to change that concept of happiness, because those things, materialists, because they think very materialistically.
This is a very interesting question, and I think instead of your working as a go-between, it would be much better if you bring them here one day and we sit together, spend a couple of hours to discuss various aspects of this question, because this is a very wide question, applicable to almost every sphere of life. First of all, happiness will have to be defined. What is happiness? Then what types of happiness are in existence? Religious, material and otherwise, or is it one indivisible happiness which takes different forms in various situations? So all these questions first have to be solved by philosophical discussion of this concept of happiness. Then things will become very easy. Otherwise, if you don't define happiness and enter this debate, then the confusion will continue, and you will not be able to make them understand what you really mean. Quite. But as I told you, this cannot be handled in this manner, that I speak to you piecemeal and then you convey, because sometimes they would have questions. Suppose I have told you something about it and it is not what they had in mind. You start a few sentences and an unexpected question suddenly would arise, and then you would know that the answer was not sufficient. This is like learning languages and practicing them. Did I tell you about my experience of Chinese? That landed me into a very similar embarrassing situation. You know Usman Chini Sahib, don't you? I once asked him to teach me about 100 odd sentences in Chinese which can be used in everyday life. But he should teach me in such a manner that I should be able to speak it like a Chinese. Perfect pronunciation and intonation and everything. So he worked very hard on me. And we did it like this, that I said, look here, if I go to a Chinese shop, I'll say, hello, ne hao ma, and what would be his answer, and then what would be my second question or his question. So we visualize things. And then, fully armed with his Chinese, I walked into a Chinese restaurant in Pindi. And in the same manner as he had taught me, I said, ne hao ma. So that impressed him so much that he believed that I knew Chinese perfectly well. So he started speaking Chinese like a frontier male. And none of the sentence which I had remembered was used by him. So I started telling him in English, I don't know, but he went on and on. So this is how sometimes one faces such a situation. Such conversation should be held directly. I prefer that.
Inshallah, I will try to bring it.
Muhammad Oda? Huh? Do you have anything to ask?
Yes, sir.
So what
I'm waiting for the right time.
Yes. This is why I asked you, because I thought you would not ask unless I asked you first. You are waiting for permission, isn't it? Yes, please come on.
Uh, 1982 in the month August when we met in Frankfurt. It was very much interesting for myself and according to my knowledge that time, something about mathematics and about doppling, the mathematics of doppling, which Allah teach us for the creation.
Couldn't catch the word mathematics of what?
The mathematics of the doubling.
Doubling.
For example, one. If
Oh, that's the one I got you there.
yes,
The one I mentioned in the mosque.
yes, sir.
Are you referring to that?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Now, it was so much for me inside me that I did not. I have some knowledge on this mathematics. I've studied some time about it, and I made such a research, small research, and my question is actually, if there is a formula which we can say through this Allah has created the creation
The whole life and everything.
through the mathematics of the doubling.
Yes.
Because if there is, then I might
I understand your question.
yes,
Please sit down. By mathematics of doubling, this young brother Muhammad Oda means that once during the 1982 visit to Frankfurt, I explained to the young men present that you cannot become victorious unless you follow the ways of nature and the reproductive system of nature. And that system is not like a missionary system that out of a community of 500 or 1,000, just one missionary is expected to produce, or like the honey bee comb system, where just one queen is reproductive and the rest are laboring and working to support the queen. The system observed in nature is very different. It began with doubling. When you study the form of early life, you come to realize that the odds against life were so great that if every cell was not capable of doubling, life simply could not have survived those great odds. So to begin with, the early life followed this system of doubling. Each cell doubled and redoubled with the result that in a matter of hours, some bacteria made colonies for which there is no known number to count in any human language. I mean, they swell to such size and number that no human language can cover that number, because each cell multiplied. So that is what he is referring to by saying mathematics of doubling. I said in preaching, it is highly important that we follow the ways of nature, and instead of depending upon if you